Good morning, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I have a clean and simple card to share with you using some of the newest release items. The adorable new stamp set called Huggable and the fun confetti cuts word die warm hugs just are kind of a perfect match. They were just made to go together, so it was only natural that I was going to end up making a card just popping those two on one thing together. So I'm starting off there using the Warm Hugs confetti cuts. I've die cut it there from Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper. And I'm going to do some ink smooshing using MERMAID LAGOON Distress ink. I just used, this is a sheet protector with a piece of white paper stuck inside. And I started off with putting some of the ink on there, misting it with water, then doing the ink again, but not adding any extra water, just using the moisture that's already on the word die cut. And this is going to give kind of a fun dip dyed effect. Yeah, your fingers will get a little bit stained, but it wears off in a day or so. But it was just a fun way to add some color to that word die and just a little bit of texture as well with that watercolor paper and the ink smooshing, and lots of fun color options you can do with that as well. All right, next up, we're going to go ahead and stamp the cute little hugging mice from that Huggable stamp set. I'm using Midnight dye ink and just stamping it. I'm also stamping this on the same watercolor paper because I'm going to watercolor the image in using some distress inks. I'm starting off there with Antique Linen, and I'm just smooshing it on a clear block, and then I'm using a little brush with a bit of water, and then adding, I had popped some Tattered Rose on that other clear block, and that's going to be for adding a little color to the cheeks and the tummy and the ears. So just a few little spots in there, but those colors go really well together. A lot of times I do mice gray, but I thought it was kind of fun to do a little bit warmer colors. And distress inks are super easy and fun to watercolor with. And if you have them in your stash already for other techniques, it's a great way to put them to use without having to go buy other watercolors if you don't have any yet and you want to play with watercoloring a little bit and see if it's something you enjoy. You could also do this just with regular watercolors. All right, the final little touch there is a tiny bit of ground espresso that I'm just using for the noses. And if you get a little too much color on there, notice how I'm cleaning and drying off my brush and just pulling up a little bit of that extra color off of there, just so I didn't end up with too much. All right, now I die cut that with the coordinating confetti cuts, and I'm going to go ahead and start assembling things. I've die cut that Warm Hugs confetti cuts 2 more times from just Premier Polar White cardstock. It's a nice thick heavyweight, and I'm going to layer together all of these pieces that are already die cut, and it's going to make a nice dimensional word die. It's almost going to feel like a chipboard letter, so it's great for a nice solid but dimensional image to place on the card front. I'm using just a little bit of liquid glue. I like how it allows me to kind of move it. I'm hardly adding any on there. I don't know if you could see. It was just the tiniest bit so it doesn't squish out when you press them together. All right, now I already have my top folding card base ready, also from Premier Polar White cardstock. And I'm going to use that same liquid glue to adhere my word straight onto that card base. And then I'm going to use foam adhesive to pop those mice up, because now that I have 3 layers of my word die, it's about the perfect height to use foam adhesive to pop the mice on there. And I'm going to kind of position them once I have the backing peeled off, so it looks like they're standing on that M there. It's kind of just a fun way to ground them on there and attach them to that word die. I wanted to add one more little additional sentiment underneath, so I pulled off that I Just Love You from that same Huggable stamp set. I'm going to stamp it placed with my Misty and that same Midnight dye ink, just quickly right underneath the Warm Hugs. And then once I added that on, it felt like it still just needed one extra little thing, so I grabbed the little trio of hearts from that stamp set as well and stamped that right over the mice. It just kind of adds a good movement and kind of finished off that side. I used a simple coordinating Copic marker, RV32, and quickly just colored those hearts in. And then as one finishing touch, just to finish off the movement and motion of that card, I rounded off one corner. And there you go, a bright and fun and happy, but also clean and simple card using a couple items from the newest release. Thanks so much for coming by today. Have a wonderful day.